What's up, everybody? We are back for episode 32. I'm Billy.
And I'm Amanda.
We're going to have some fun doing what we always like to do every week, which is
moving some goalposts.
We'll see who's moving them this week. It's the off season. We'll probably take turns either moving them or you guys do it, and we kind of either call you out or agree with you or disagree. And I'm enjoying this interactive aspect of the show, Amanda, that we've kind of added, because it's not only producing questions, but we even got a whole topic this week. So for you guys listening, whether you want to do it on TexAgs, whether you're Longhorn, you want to do it on Twitter, message, you could post in replies, wherever you want to do it, we'll try to tackle more and more of y'all's stuff. And then if you've got a topic suggestion, we're open for that too.
Yeah, I didn't even check the YouTube comments to see if we had anything in there from last week. I don't know if you did, but double check those this week. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to leave a comment there of any questions you might have or any topic suggestions in the off season. Gets a little slow. At least we still have baseball and basketball to tide us over right now. And softball. Can't forget the ladies. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, questions, leave them in the comments, and we have a little more time in the off season. I always say, like, these shows might get shorter, but it doesn't seem like they have, because I think we had to put on a timer last week for the questions just to make sure it wasn't getting we weren't going overboard on the responses there. So
questions, we could go for an hour just with those alone, especially if people start diving in. So we definitely. Yeah. That's a speed round, kind of, is what I think we'll end up turning that into.
Yeah, like just a selection of a few. And I mean, this is something we could probably continue into football season, but we might have to narrow it down to like one or two questions, because there'll be so much else to talk about.
Just literally take like our top 3 of the week or something. I like that. I like where you're going with that. This, full disclosure, this was Amanda's idea. I love it. I think it's great off-season stuff. And the more interactive we can be, the better. And you know what else you could do to be interactive? You can buy La Casa tequila, and you can interact with that. I had a shot of it last week on the show, and I loved it, despite what my face looked like.
Despite his face.
Someone sent me a hilarious screenshot, too. I think I sent it to you, of your look as I took the shot, where you just kind of were like, oh. But again, don't lose a pick'em contest. You don't have to do that, but at least it was La Casa. And
yeah, I mean, that's not quite a punishment. I will say also, if you want to support Catalyst, we'll have a ad read somewhere for Catalyst in this podcast a little bit later. But I was just informed. Mixing. I'm sorry.
You need to start mixing and do one of your drinks on the show of Catalyst and La Casa. Because they work together.
For those that don't know, Catalyst is an energy drink, but it's not your normal energy drink. It doesn't taste super sugary, artificial, whatever. It kind of tastes to me like a sparkling water, and it doesn't have, like, some of those have like 200 grams of caffeine, which just can be a little much. I think it has like 120, which is a good amount, closer to like a large cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Really good. And mixers at tailgates will be great with Catalyst. I wanted to mention it because they did launch in Dallas, I think this week or last week. Okay. So should be able to find it in Dallas starting I'll try to check and see what stores they're at in Dallas. But it's great stuff. My fridge is full of it. If you see me, if you know me, just holler and I'll give you some to try.
Well, you need to mix those two together, and next week maybe have us a cocktail and explain.
Well, when we're
exactly
filming at 6:30 on a Monday, I don't know if I want to drink a espresso martini on steroids. That seems to be a bit much. Maybe if we record in the day sometime, eventually we can have one.
You can just make one and hold it up and explain, and like.
I don't want to waste those two great liquids.
I did not waste any yesterday, but for my birthday, we had a little get together at a friend's house, and
everybody tell Billy happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I'm aging. Decided I'm going to start going backwards now.
There you go.
So
26 has never looked better.
No, we're not there yet. We got a long way going backwards to get to that one. But anyway, I did enjoy some La Casa on the birthday, and a few people out there had never tried it before. So I think we won over some new Aggies and even a Longhorn fan of La Casa. So check them out, drink it, support the show, support Drake and company. They're great people, and I think they've got a great product there. Try it.
Sure.
So
All
what do
right,
we
let's
got?
get
Why don't
into
you
it.
start us off? I guess we'll start with hoops, right?
Yeah, basketball.
You're
Sports we
starting
got.
to get a little more interested, aren't you? It's starting to get to that time of year, isn't it?
I'm trying to be better about we got to tune in.
True.
Regardless of win or loss, we got to tune in. But Texas is heating up at the right time. Win over Mizzou, have won 4 straight, which is, it's taken a turn for the better down the stretch. They have LSU tomorrow or today. The show will be out on Tuesday. But I'll be definitely tuning into that one. I'll start watching and Texas will start losing, and then I'll stop watching again just to take one for the team.
But now would be a good time for you to watch. LSU, I think, is struggling. They gave Tennessee a scare, but I think they are they're down another guy. Texas should extend that streak to 5. I said all along I thought Sean Miller was a hell of a hire. You give him the recruiting lore that is Texas, and they've always been able to get really highly regarded players there, regardless of who's the coach. Rick Barnes was the one that really put it together and made it work at a high top 10, NCAA tournament run level. Shaka couldn't do that. Chris Beard would have, couldn't. And now I think that's a great hire, and it's showing. A&M and Texas are tied right now as we record this, 7-5 each in the standings, 2 going in different directions. One team's won 4 in a row, the other's lost 4 in a row, so it's been a big swing.
Yeah, they got a lineup coming up too. Texas at home. That one should be interesting. Should be fun. We'll have to see how it ends. What do you think's wrong with this A&M team right now that things are going the direction you don't want them to be going?
I think up until Saturday, Amanda, I would have said not much, just the matchups. Missouri is a really big team. Texas could counter that with y'all's 7-footer and the inside. A&M does not have that. So Missouri was a really big team that caused them a lot of. I think they're like the 6th biggest team in college basketball. That was a bad matchup, and A&M lost it essentially at the buzzer. They missed a shot at the buzzer to win it. And then going to Alabama and losing 197.
Oh, that one's tough.
Yeah, and again, though, you played well. To
put up 97, you had to do something right.
Yeah, so I didn't feel like – so you were beating Missouri with 20 seconds left. You were beating Alabama with 1:20 left. So I wouldn't have said they're playing bad. They went to Vandy this weekend, and I thought took a step back. They were down 4 at halftime, and Vandy really controlled most of the second half. Amanda, to be honest with you, and I talked with Bucky McMillan this morning on our show, I just think they look tired. Like the grind has caught up to them. He actually mentioned to me that he kind of went in depth about their schedule the next couple of days, and they're really going to lay back on them. And he was honest. He was like, hey, I don't know that that's the case, but that's what we're going to try. And if it's not, then maybe we need to work them even harder and practice harder. He's like, but this is what we're going to try, because he did notice that the legs weren't there. And when you're a 3-point shooting team and you're a press team, then you know this. If you don't have legs, your percentage of threes is going to go way down, and your ability to press full court, it's going to lead to a lot of breakaway layups and dunks and open court opportunities. And that's what you're seeing. So it's like put up or shut up time for the Aggies. They got games against Ole Miss, a resurgent OU team, and LSU. Those are three.
I will rarely cheer for A&M, but I gotta say I would rather see A&M win than OU. I'll just put it that way.
And wouldn't you rather see A&M beat Beard as well?
I don't know. That one's hard.
Come on.
The thing is, I feel like the vendetta with Beard is just like, it's not a rivalry. It's just more of personal.
Yeah.
I don't really, as long as they're not making the Final Four and winning a national championship, whatever.
You. Yeah.
That one, if y'all beat Beard, good for you. If you lose to Ole Miss, it's an A&M loss. I won't cry over it.
So here's the deal for the Aggies as I see it. They beat Texas, they beat LSU, they beat OU. They're 3-0 against those teams. If they can go 3-0 again, and
On the
beat Ole
backstretch.
Miss, they're going to be in the tournament.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. Obviously, Texas right now is playing better ball than the Aggies. But again, duplicate the 3 teams you beat. The toughest of the 3 is coming to your house. If that's your path to the tournament this late in the season, I think that's more than people expected. And they've got Kentucky at home, and then they've got Arkansas on the road in addition to those games. So it's going to be tough. That Missouri loss seems to really be it was a huge swing. But this is a marathon, not a sprint. And for Aggies and Longhorns both, there's 6 out of 18 games left. There's a third of the conference schedule. So we'll revisit this in a couple weeks. I think the Aggies need a 2-0 week, and I think Texas should beat LSU and keep that momentum going. So hopefully when we come back, we're talking about some wins for both of us.
Yeah, we'll see.
And you will be jumping all up on the postseason bandwagon as this thing goes.
I mean, I gotta say, as much I feel like my thing with basketball is there's a lot of games, and I get really busy in the spring or in the winter spring months with work stuff. But when March Madness hits, I'm always going to pay attention to March Madness. It's probably up there with my favorite tournament in sports. It's fun. I love the Cinderella stories of the Sweet 16 seed beating the number 1 seeds. It's a lot more fun, exciting. I'll always, even if Texas isn't in it, I will always be tuning in for March Madness.
Yeah.
I love it as a tournament.
It's awesome. And as an aside, before we move on to some football stuff, baseball season started at Bluebell, at the Dish. Both teams went 3-0. Neither team really challenged by a great baseball team. They'll both be playing tournaments here in a couple weeks, so that's when things are going to really pick up. But it's that time of year. I know a ton of our listeners on both. Look, if there's one thing Aggies and Longhorns have in common, it is damn sure that both fan bases are very, very passionate about their baseball. So
I like baseball a bit more than basketball. I did date a college baseball player all through college, so that's probably part of it. Mm-hmm. I learned to really love the sport when previously I thought it was like watching grass grow. But when you have to be at 3 games of a series and your significant other only plays in one of them because they're a pitcher, you learn to love the game because you got to be there anyways.
True. Well, I'm excited. So again, we're going to work on getting you guys down here for one of
when
those.
Is that series?
That is like second week of April
10th.
or so.
Is that Easter?
No, it's a week after.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, you have 3 chances.
I will say, I think Grant gets a nasal surgery that week, so we might not be making.
He might not be coming to that one, but yeah, we'll see. If it's not that weekend though, we definitely need to make that happen. Hopefully, I can replicate your picture from last year, where you horns upped me in the stands and got about 3,000 likes on it. I would love to just have you in the background after a loss and just. But we'll see if we can make that happen.
We'll see. Don't speak too soon.
Well, Texas are sitting there ranked number 3. The Aggies had a nice, encouraging opening weekend. But again, in baseball, look, none of this stuff really matters until you get about midway through SEC play and you can really start to evaluate who's who. So we'll be doing that.
Baseball's a weird game.
And we'll be talking a lot about that this spring as we go. But let's talk some football, Amanda. Let's start with we'll start with your Longhorns, and then I'll give a little insider info on what's going on here in College Station.
Yeah, we got some practice updates. I don't know if we mentioned this on this show, but there were a handful of Texas players that got surgery after season. These are all minor surgeries, so we're not talking ACLs or anything. One of them, Arch Manning, an update on him. He's currently in a boot, so not practicing right now, but he should be back for spring ball. It was a minor foot surgery. I think it was a lingering injury that he had for multiple games. I don't think he suffered it in the Citrus Bowl. Okay. But he was still running, so it had to be minor, I guess. Gooseby is in a sling. He had a shoulder surgery, should be good to go. Wingo's looking good in his recovery. He had a wrist surgery. He got injured in the Citrus Bowl. Emmett Mosley got injured in the Citrus Bowl. He couldn't put any weight on his ankle. He got an ankle surgery. Xavier Filsami, shoulder, Ty Anthony Smith's shoulder. So they all had minor operations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty large handful. And it is, I mean, something to be said for how many of these injuries happened in the Citrus Bowl, of how a lot of players opt out for this reason. They don't want to be getting, I mean, all of these players planning on coming back in 2026, but if they weren't and they got one of these minor injuries, it's putting them out to potentially go to the NFL Combine.
For sure.
That's a concern. And then another name, Andre Kojo, he actually posted on Instagram, I think it was today, he's back to lifting after tearing his ACL, and I think he tore his MCL as well in August, right before season. He's an offensive lineman. He was competing with Brandon Baker for a starting role, so getting him back as a depth piece, I mean, that's a concerning injury with a guy that large, but he seems to be making progress. He was pushing some weight in the weight room. I was pretty impressed with the picture he posted. But it would be really, really good as far as the O-line depth goes if he can come back healthy and stay healthy. Biggest part of that.
Yeah, because I'm assuming he's a guy that could, A, at minimum provide depth, B, potentially start, just considering where he was at.
I mean, he was competing for a
hurt.
starting role last season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he can get his fitness back, then.
Yep. I'll tell you what, all those injuries and stuff, like, it's so funny. It's almost like you just – I interviewed today Dalton Brooks, A&M safety, and it was a great interview. We talked to Amanda a little bit about his days at Shiner, which I know back then you remember covering him or writing or talking about him and his brother, actually. But he came in a sling. You know, he had off-season – shoulder surgery. So, I mean, it's
yeah, I mean, you're battered after season. I mean,
absolutely.
I will say it makes sense. Every college soccer season, after season, I had a surgery.
Yeah.
So after my last high school season, I had a surgery. After freshman year, I had a surgery. After sophomore year, I had a surgery. So you're just beat up. And I mean, I knew I needed that surgery my sophomore season after game 3 of the season. But it's like, do you do the surgery mid-season and not play, or do you just play through the pain? And most of us opt to play through the pain.
One of our mutual friends said, if we did a drinking game, like there's a million things for me that you could drink to during this show. And they said on your side, one of them would be Amanda mentions her knee injury or knees, drink. Like people would be messed up.
Truly. I don't think you understand. I have to think about my knees every single day right now because of how badly they hurt and how bad of a condition they.
I know.
I mean, I got it analyzed, and I am a candidate for a full knee replacement in my left knee and a partial knee replacement in my right knee. So, could be getting new knees for year 33 of my life.
Good Lord, you sound like this is the one time I'll say Amanda Atwell meet Dan Campbell. Y'all are similar. Like I know Dan has had 2 replacements, and I don't think you talk about how every year in soccer. I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to ask him this, I'm pretty sure that he had a surgery either upon the end of the season or a season-ending injury requiring surgery. Like almost every single year he played in the NFL, which was like, I think, 10, 11, 12 years. And I don't know that there was a season that he didn't begin whenever his offseason started with some form of surgery. So it's just... It's college athletics, but it's football, man, and these things happen, and
it's a dangerous sport. You get injured, you're hitting each other.
But like you said, they do that basically, so all these guys are in fact healthy when it matters.
I'm sure it'll be floating around that Arch Manning's in a boot, but
that's already
just to clarify, it's all minor, and they should be fine, which is good.
On the A&M side of things, they started, and we'll talk more about this. I think. Give it a couple weeks and we can talk more about it. And I know you'll get intel on the Texas side, but they started their off-season kind of team competition, conditioning, workouts where the coaches can be involved. They start you're able to do X number of those. They started those this past week, I think Thursday, and they go Tuesdays, Thursdays now. So this will go on for. I think it's 3 weeks worth you can do, whatever it is. They just started, so we'll get a lot more intel coming out of those. But just the early returns, just some stuff that I've talked about, and I keep mentioning to people on my show, Amanda, I think some of the main names that you need to look at for the Aggies that have to have a big jump year 1 to 2 for this team to keep it going, per se. And we'll talk more about this in a minute. But some of those names to me were Noah McHale, the second-year linebacker. All these are second-year guys. Noah McHale, linebacker. Marco Jones, defensive end. Running back, Jamarian Morrow. And then I was actually talking to someone that I trust, and it's really plugged into that said, hey, don't forget the 3 second-year defensive linemen, tackles. DJ Sanders from Belleville, Chase Sims from the Richmond-Rosenberg area, and Landon Rink. So for Longhorn fans, too, Landon Rink's name should sound familiar because his dad, Shane Rink, played at Texas. The Horns didn't offer and push him. I mean, they may have offered early, but they didn't push for the commitment. They did try to flip Sims and DJ Sanders from the Aggies, so that's just a little something to say that Horns are familiar with those three. But they need those young D tackles to step forward and make an impact this year. The good news is I've heard some really good things about Rink and Sanders in the weight room. And then you've got, just like Texas does, you've got I think the Aggies have one signee/portal guy that's not here right now. There's a high school tight end from the Midwest that he's from Iowa. He actually is finishing up his senior year trying to win a state championship in basketball. But that's it. Evan Jacobson out of all the portal guys and all the signees. And I will say there's a lot of buzz already. I mentioned him last week, KJ Sanders. At running back. There's a lot of buzz there for him. And then I think Isaiah Horton has also turned heads, and these portal offensive linemen certainly look the part, as do a lot of the O-linemen they kept. And that's something we're about to talk about. So if we want to move forward, those are just some names. And then also Damian Sanford. I got to mention him if we're doing this because everyone I talked to has said that he has been a hit-the-ground-running guy in the weight room. He won a starting job at Atwell about Notre Dame, so like late September. Scooby Williams got hurt, and Sanford stepped in and was kind of a playmaker. And now he's having one of the strongest early starts to the offseason, so certainly a name worth following if you're an Aggie. So let's keep it moving. What do we got next? There was a hot topic this week for a few hours at least, based on something I said, and you took it and ran with it. And I think our fans and your fans were kind of torn over. Usually you have this magical ability, and we know why. It's part of it's because you're right a lot. Part of it is because they want to see me wrong. So it makes for a hell of a combination. But usually the mob seems to sway towards you. This was one of the times where it was kind of split as we were going through the mentions. But we had a little minor dust up this week talking about scheduling stuff and what was in the news. Why don't you take us through that?
You say that they were kind of split. So your first tweet,
you ratioed the shit out of me. I understand that. I saw the numbers.
Yeah. I just looked back at it. I hadn't looked at it in a while.
It was like 5-1 or something.
So On3 tweeted out, college football loses if Alabama cancels its home and home 27-28 series with Ohio State. Apparently they're looking into it. You quote tweeted it and said, a certain fan base is about to have a lot to say about not honoring a scheduled home and home with Ohio State. My response was, so that got 63 likes. My response was, congratulations on making a completely unrelated tweet about Texas somehow. Intriguing for somebody who swore he didn't care what Texas fans think literally 2 days ago.
So that was Thursday, and our thing went out Tuesday.
Yeah, and my tweet got like 200 likes. So
you missed a golden opportunity, by the way. You should have just quote tweeted that with the clip of me going, what I say, I don't care what the burnt orange narrative is. Your Twitter says otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, where do you come off on that? Keep going. Sorry. Keep going.
I'm
cut
sorry. I'm
you
trying to
off.
find the other one because there was one. Oh, I quote tweeted.
Yeah.
I just quote tweeted. You said, "Imagine the anger out of Austin if Ohio State won a close one at DKR and Texas went 6-2 in SEC play. Would 2 years in a row missing the playoffs because of an out of conference opponent challenge that teams like Alabama of all programs are backing out of?" I quote tweeted and said, "I thought you covered A&M," because that was a lot of tweets about Longhorns in one day for you.
You
But
got
that
some Aggies
aside,
mad with that one too.
we can discuss the whole concept of the canceling the preseason games. I'm not sure how much we went into this when it was a bit of a hot topic earlier. My thing with this one, I don't really care what Alabama does. Alabama can do whatever they want to do. I'm a Texas fan. I care what Texas is doing. I care about Texas's strength of schedule. And the difference between these two situations, though, is Texas is in the middle of the series with Ohio State and in the middle of the series with Michigan. When it's that kind of situation, I think you kind of have to honor the playing the other half of the series you're in the middle of. I don't know the actual semantics around the contract with these series, but I feel like that would get criticism from all over college football if Texas backed out of those two series. And I don't think they should back out of those series. I want to play Ohio State in DKR. I want to play Michigan in DKR because the next two you get at home. What more do you want than facing two of the top teams in the Big Ten at home at the beginning of your season? And I will say at least Ohio State is a second game of the season this year and not the opener, because that was a lot headed up to.
And like you said, the biggest thing is you already went through the hardest part, which is going to the big house, going to the shoe, and to not get that return game in front of your fans and make them have to come play in September in Austin. It feels
you
to
really
me
want
like
to play another San Jose State instead of hosting Ohio State?
No,
nobody wants to watch that. And I guess everything's about the college football playoff at this point, but when you're supposed to have one of the best teams in college football, Texas will be ranked in the top 5 going into this season, you should embrace playing that game. It's especially, and Texas is more deserving of the hype this year than they were last year, in my personal opinion, and I'm sure in your personal opinion as well.
Yeah, I've gone on record with that one.
There's less unknowns going into this season. You know what you have at quarterback. You have more returning on the O-line. You have some really good additions and some skill positions. But the difference there is, I don't see a bunch of outrage. The thing is, I clicked on that tweet of Alabama wanting to back out. I didn't see any outrage from the Burnt Orange. I saw all other kinds of fan bases commenting on that.
Yeah.
The difference will be if Texas decides to cancel the series beyond 27. So Notre Dame. Will Texas keep that Notre Dame series? I think that's still up in the air. And I think the next 2 years will kind of decide whether or not Texas keeps that series on the book. Notre Dame sure as hell wants to keep that series on the book because it'll be one of their only quality games that they'll have on their schedule, because
they might need it. Yeah.
Notre Dame for it. But what benefit does that have to Texas going forward? I certainly want to see a Texas-Notre Dame matchup. It's one of the best games in recent memory from when Texas was very bad. All right, y'all, if you're looking for a clean energy boost on game day or honestly any day, check out Catalyst Pure Performance Energy. This stuff is built for people who want energy without the junk. We're talking zero sugar, no artificial colors or flavors, no preservatives, and no artificial sweeteners. Catalyst gives you a steady, non-jittery stream of energy thanks to natural nootropics and the same caffeine as a cup of coffee, so you get focus and endurance without the crash. And the flavors: superberry, pomegranate power, orange dream, citrus spark, cherry lime charge, and grapefruit. All refreshing, never syrupy. So if you want to fuel your workouts, your late night study sessions, or your Saturday tailgates, grab Catalyst Pure Performance Energy at a store near you or on drinkcatalyst.com. Ignite your performance.
What do we got next?
We got, let's see.
Our topic, speaking of back, like who's back, who's not back? Aggies and Longhorns. I think most people, Amanda, seem to have the Horns. They're going to have Texas in the top 5. I think top 3 would be a safe bet in most of the polls, right? Whether they're 1, 2, or 3, I think it's pretty safe to assume.
I'd say 1 through 5. I
think 5?
Put it more like that.
Okay, so top 5. A&M's looking like on the back end of the top 10, maybe knocking on the door of the top 10. They'll be in that range. So both squarely in like the off-season conversation, right? So
Yeah.
I thought it was a great question, but it was longer than just a question. So I said, why don't we turn this into a topic, because it's really interesting, I think, for both sides, because this is what you and I can do, right? This is what fans do. This is what friends do. This is what buddies do over a beer or over lunch. This is what I did with my friends last year. Take A&M and Texas and see who's better at each position. So we're going to do that today with the understanding that's the off season, and we could obviously revisit this a month into the season, and it'd be fun to compare then versus now. But as we sit here today, why don't we do a quick run through, and quarterback we're going to keep real short and sweet, but other positions, because we've talked that into the ground, but why don't we do a run through position by position and see what we come up with, see what we agree or disagree on.
All right, let's do it. I will say I'm kind of irritated. I'm pulling up the depth charts of both teams, and I have an updated Texas depth chart from this website that I generally pull depth charts from, but they have not updated the A&M depth chart for some reason. So that's annoying.
I'll talk us through the A&M side then.
They have like all the players from last year, but that doesn't really help when you've added so much from the portal.
We can talk through the A&M one. That'd be fine. If you got the Texas one, you can help me out with that, and then I can do the same with the Aggies. So I guess
Let's start on the offense.
Yeah, let's start with quarterback. I'll just give you the floor first, and just give me, because we did it so much, right? We got so much content on Arch and Marcel. Why don't you just say, like, your one reason, like one sentence, couple thoughts on, why Arch in that, because we know that's who you're picking.
Yeah, you can say trajectory. You can also say just end of the season, he looked like the more confident quarterback. He looked like he was coming into his own. And regardless of his rough patches early in the season, he knows how to secure the football. He knows how to not turn over the football. And I think if you're looking at two quarterbacks that are really equal stat-wise, and we looked at the stats and they were scary equal in a lot of categories, except for that turnover category. And the turnover bug is something you got to do better at, because that's what can win or lose you close football games, as it did the Miami game.
Yeah.
If he even throws away the ball instead of throws an interception, you got another down, and you could potentially tie that game. And
there were two others in that game as well.
Yeah. So I think for that reason, it's easy for me to pick Arch Manning. I think he also has the benefit of a more experienced O-line in front of him, which was a big reason for a lot. He had obvious growing pains that he needed to get over last season, but a big reason for that was if you have an O-line that you're afraid is going to bust in half a second, you're probably not going to be playing your most confident football, which was very obviously the case. I do think there are certain areas of growth we need to see a little bit more from him as far as just decision making. He did get a lot better at it, but I watched a play the other day. I can't remember when I think it might have been in the first half of the A&M game, where he could have easily run and he tried to throw the football, and he could have easily made a run and gotten a first down. Instead, he threw the football away. So just a couple things like that, just trusting his feet a little bit more, because he is a great running quarterback. Learned that in the A&M game, learned it even more in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah.
So my choice is easy. It's Arch. I think he wins in this category. I don't think Marcel's a bad quarterback by any means. There were just some couple yellow flags there. And I think, the turnovers are a red flag for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. And this will be, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to concede this one. And I like the Marcel side of it, but I know what the rest.
He has potential.
Oh, he definitely. Marcel's really good, but I know what the rest of. I know that the rest of college football, as we sit here today, for a lot of the reasons you said, no one that doesn't cover A&M or Texas, but covers the SEC or college football, I don't think you're going to see a single list or a single ranking that's going to have read over Arch. So, like, I'm going to concede that one to you because that's what the rest of the country's saying. But I will say this about Marcel. I think he's actually really damn good. And I think a lot of the reasons that you said about, like, Arch are what, like, I've really studied the Marcel thing and some of those interceptions and the bad plays and the good and the good games and the bad games. I've really dove into it. I think from the A&M side, meaning the Aggie fan base, forget about what everyone else says. I think they're a little hard on him from the standpoint of he should never have turned those balls over. But if you watch, when you talk about shaky O-line play or a lack of
You
run
don't have to
game-
tell me about a fan base being hard on a quarterback.
I know. And I get, trust me, you've had it for, the last few. And
It's wildly frustrating.
but I'm watching Marcel and I'm going, this is something that Elko and Holman Wiggins and everybody have to really dive into, because what happened against South Carolina, Texas, and Miami, and in ascending order, by the way, because South Carolina didn't have a great defense, but they had a good one. If you go back and
I think
look,
he had a few interceptions during Auburn, too.
another good yeah. So, like, there is a theme there, right? And you pointed that out.
I mean, that one, you won still, so.
Yeah, but you only had one offensive touchdown in that game, and he got sacked 4 times. So my point is when Marcel really struggled was against teams with first-round pass rushers, all 4, including Auburn and including South Carolina, first-round draft pick pass rushers, and the running game in all those games except Auburn was kind of non-existent. A&M's big comeback against South Carolina only happened because they just said, we're going to go up-tempo and throw it every down because we have to, and Marcel got going. The running game failed them in the last 3 games. And look, a big part of it was you had a good South Carolina defense, a really good Texas defense, and a great Miami defense. So my point
I wanted to correct, he only had 1 interception at Auburn, so wasn't a lot. Still one you don't want, but you're right, 4 sacks.
Yeah,
That's
4 sacks.
not good.
And they only produced a singular touchdown in that game.
My concern for Marcel, though, is on the sack note, is he's behind a completely rebuilt O-line.
No
so
question.
Which is not his fault. But I mean, and we saw it this year, wasn't Arch's fault that he's behind a completely rebuilt O-line, and it made him really, really struggle in a lot of games where otherwise he was playing well. But
so let's move right into O-line then. That's a good point. And so I'll give you that one. We'll go to O-line now. On the Aggie side, you just said it. They lost 4 starters. All 4 are expected to get drafted. So they lost 4 NFL linemen.
kind of the exact same situation Texas was in last year as far as 4 starters gone.
And so what they did is they kind of watched and learned Texas and around college football and said, hey, we can't just rely on the guys on campus, even if we think they're going to be good. If they're good, then they'll beat out some of these guys, but we have to go get. And so they went in the portal and they got 4 SEC starters, 2 from LSU, 1 from Alabama, 1 from South Carolina, and they brought them in. So some hope, sure. I think the upside is there. I think this could be a good or really good offensive line, or let's say really solid O-line. But that is the big question mark, I think, heading into the season is going to be, can they just have flipped that switch, brought in the reinforcements, and still have a good offensive line? Or is that going to be a stumbling block for this team? And we're just not going to know until we get into the meat of the season, like you said, until you start playing SEC football in mid to late September.
Yeah, and I mean, on the Texas end, you have Trevor Gooseby returning, Connor Robertson returning, who kind of settled in at center last year. I feel like it's always important to have a solid center returning because that position was really screwing Texas over at the beginning of the season when they were figuring out who needed to play there. You have Brandon Baker coming back, Kojo potentially coming back into the mix, and then you have transfer Melvin Siani and Lawrence Seymour coming in. So, I mean, I would trust this O-line more than A&M's. Not saying A&M doesn't have talented players on the O-line, but there's just, like you said last season, there's more unknowns with it. But I do think A&M will be in a better position than Texas was last season just because you went out and got those players that have game experience and didn't trust super green freshmen that might, or just younger players that might end up being great players, but you toss them in against Ohio State game one, there's going to be some kinks you got to work out there.
Yeah, no, I think I'll agree with you on that. Like, you return 3 starters, you return a top, projected first round pick, all SEC guy in Gooseby. So yeah, that would be a position that I'll give you today, and then it would be one like, okay, let's visit that about midseason and see how this whole turnstile thing that A&M did with NFL to portal mixed in with maybe a guy or two that's already on campus, and we'll see how that works out. But as we sit here today, that would be I would not sit there and fight you on that one.
I mean, it's worked out for a lot of teams rebuilding via the portal pretty easily.
No doubt.
But we'll just have to see what these players can do.
By the way, just an aside, as this draft comes near, we aim with 13 combine entries. We talked about this last week, I think. But one thing that's interesting is they're going to probably have 7 portal guys drafted. Some are 2-year portal guys, some are 1. That tells you 2 things. That Elko's doing a good job of identifying and evaluating in the portal, and also when they get them there, developing them, because a lot of them weren't thought of. They weren't celebrated, let's say, by the A&M fan base or by the rankings when they signed them, and yet here they are going to get drafted. So if you're an Aggie, I think that's something for you to be optimistic about with certain positions like we just talked about, the offensive line. What's next offensively?
I want to go wide receiver.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I mean, I'm taking Texas's wide receiver room by a hair, just a hair, because A&M has a returner in Mario Craver. I really like Terry Bussey. I really like Ashton Bethel Roman. That's going to be a strong room for both teams, but Cam Coleman, you win the Cam Coleman battle. You have Wingo returning. If Wingo looked better towards the end of the season, if he hits a stride, I think he will be very dangerous. You have Khalil Lockett coming up, Emmett Mosley, if he can stay healthy. That's the biggest thing there. I think Texas's wide receiver room will look a lot different and significantly better, improved over last season. When you're replacing Parker Livingston with Cam Coleman, I don't have much to complain about there. I'm gonna
ask for a push here, and I think it's going to be interesting in that A&M lost a big one with KC Concepcion. That's big
my
loss.
only. Otherwise, if he stayed one more year, I'd probably pick A&M without a doubt.
But I
do love Mario Craver. He impressed me since the Notre Dame game. So, and I love Ashton Bethel Roman. Couple games. I can't even remember what game I saw him in midseason. I was like, oh, I don't want to play him.
Yeah, I think ABR, as they call him, Ashton. I think Ashton is on my short list for potential breakout players on this team. Even though he had a good finish to second half of last year, I think in terms of outside of A&M, people knowing about him, he's on my short list. But you add Isaiah Horton, and you bring back Craver and Bethel Roman, you bring back Bussey, and they've got a slew of young players, kind of like Texas. You mentioned Lockett. They're bringing in McCutcheon's a good one. They're bringing in Bishop, who's a 5-star athlete that I know is a playmaker. A&M similar with guys like Aaron Gregory, Mike Brown, Jerome Miles was a 5-star that redshirt. You talk about a knee injury. He's a guy that seems like he's going to be back from that knee injury he suffered in fall camp. He was really turning heads even just in a couple days. It's like a 6'5" wideout. And then you add Gregory. Madden Williams is highly regarded, and then Jaden Warren out of the Houston area. So I really think both teams could go, okay, Steve Sarkisian, can you win with these A&M receivers? Hell yeah, I can. Mike Elko, how do you think Marcel and your offense would do with those Texas receivers? Yeah, we'd win a lot of games. It's fairly even. The one thing I'll concede to you on this one is the number one on the list, is Cam Coleman. And if he doesn't finish as the highest drafted guy, it would come as a surprise. And that's no knock on guys like Horton and Craver. Because I think after that, Wingo, Horton, Craver, a healthy Mosley or Lockett or
I don't know. I'm
gets
second
interesting.
guessing. I might give A&M this room just because of the depth. I like the depth a little bit more with A&M as far as more proven talent. I love Ryan Wingo. I need him to see drop about half as many balls as he has dropped.
Yeah.
I love Emmett Mosley. I think he needs to prove that he can stay healthy for more than 2 games. I love Khalid Lockett. Haven't seen enough of him.
True.
And then Dalen McCutcheon has shown some talent. I just like Texas has talent. It's just you need to see it pan out a little bit more. And haven't seen Cam Coleman with Arch yet. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure he'll appreciate having a competent
wish he wasn't there.
quarterback. I'm sure
wish
he
he
will
was not
appreciate having a different quarterback throwing to him this year.
I'd be shocked if they didn't terrorize secondaries this year because Coleman over the top with Arch's big arm is scary. I think to me, that one's a push. I just think either coach would be thrilled to have the other group.
The only reason I'm saying is depth of returners, of proven returners for A&M. Ryan Wingo had some great games, but there's just some things there that really, really need to be fixed. I'm hoping he has an Xavier Worthy-like arc where people were calling for Xavier Worthy to transfer, and then he came out and had a breakout season.
True.
So hoping that happens for Wingo.
So let's plow past tight end, and I'm just going to tell you, I've looked at this a lot. I think this is a push because I think what both teams are doing is they've got you guys have Nick Townsend who flashed last year. I think scored touchdown against A&M.
Yeah,
the Aggies really wanted him. I thought he was a stud out of high school.
They got Michael Masunas, who I don't know much about.
Yeah, and the Aggies went and got 2 portal tight ends as well, and Keati Armstrong's a stud young guy that essentially redshirted last year. He played a little. So to me, that room for both teams is like a TBD, and I bet both coaching staffs feel pretty good about it, but we just don't know anything about either one of them yet. It's too new look for both.
Running back. You want to go into that one? I think running back's easy.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one where we had I still say that's your gold TikTok standard one when you decide to unleash that one because it was funny. It was that was the infamous Jaden Ball pull where we were debating if they're elite or not. Look, I'm super fired up about Jamarian Morrow, KJ Edwards. I think I said KJ Sanders earlier for some reason because I'm thinking of TJ Sanders, an old player at A&M. KJ Edwards from Carthage, he's a freaking stud, one of the tops in the country. And they've signed actually 2 really good young backs this year. So I'm fired up. Reuben Owens has to make a big jump. He quietly ran for almost 700 last year, but he has to make a jump for me to want to stand in the ring with you on this position because what you were right about was we can argue whether elite or not all day, but your real point was that they went out in the portal and they got coveted guys that have proven explosive playmakers in Rayleigh Brown and Smothers, Hollywood Smothers. So those are the Big 12 leading rusher, the ACC leading rusher. So yeah, as we sit here today, you got that one.
Yeah, and you got James Simon coming up in the ranks too. We saw a little spurt of him in the beginning of the season, so it'll be good to see a little bit more of him. He had some talent early on, but yeah, I think and
a coveted recruit too, right?
Yeah. Are you surprised that A&M didn't go for anyone in the running back? I mean, it was kind of slim pickings in the running back category in the transfer portal. A couple of the high-profile guys that you thought were going to enter didn't.
Yeah.
Are you surprised they didn't pick up any running backs in the portal?
Yes, and I've actually mentioned this to people, as I like to say, across the street. And I just think it's almost like focus their resources, a.k.a. NIL money or rev share money, like elsewhere, and felt good about what they had. My contention was just this simply. I like Reuben Owens. I think what he did from missing 1 year to this past year, I think a lot of people focus on the Texas game where he really struggled just keeping his feet and had maybe some big runs there that he couldn't finish. But I just look at last year, Amanda. They had 4 guys that were leaving, or 3. They had obviously Le'Veon Moss, who was hurt unfortunately most of the year and a lot of his career, which sucked because he was so good. But they were losing Moss, they were losing Amari Daniels, and they were losing E.J. Smith. So they lost like 3 very veteran backs. So they had 4 veteran backs last year. And this year, Morrow made some really nice plays against LSU, against Florida. He looked really good at times, but I wouldn't call him a veteran. He's going into year 2. So I think they went from 4 veterans to 1. And that, to me, was a concern.
Yeah, and Texas also has Derek Cooper coming in.
Yeah,
so
he's the one I was talking about. Yep.
That's another pretty big add to the running back room. Yeah, that was when I looked at that, because I couldn't remember A&M picking up any running backs in the portal, and confirmed that they didn't. And then I looked at who they were losing in the running back room and who they were returning, and then noticed that I had no idea who the guy was that would be RB2.
Yeah.
So was thinking that would be of minor concern.
Yeah. And
just because I think it was proven too that you really needed a running back room to win games last year. OU's running back room pretty much non-existent, and lost games against really good defenses for that reason.
Look at Indiana's backs. Look at Miami's back, Fletcher, through the whole playoff. Look at what Ole Miss did with Kejuan Lacey getting to that Final Four. I think that's a great point. Like, you can still take over a game late, even though everyone likes the points and the passing. You can still take over a game late with a great running game. And how much, we just went and talked about it, how much would Marcel Reed have loved to have leaned on Le'Veon Moss for 22 carries in that Miami game?
Even both Arch and Marcel were the second highest rushers on their team, on their respective teams.
True.
Arch to Wisner and Marcel to Moss, or who was the leading running back?
I haven't even Owens. I imagine Owens.
Yeah, I didn't know how long Moss was hurt for.
Let's touch on defense. D-line. I'll give you my take.
Go for it.
I love DJ Hicks coming back, former 5-star signee. I think he's going to be a top 2-3 round pick next year. But they lost a lot, and they lost the SEC Defensive Player of the Year in Cassius Howell. They bring back TJ Searcy and DJ Hicks. They lost Regis and Onyetum at D-tackle. I talked earlier, they need some young guys to step up in that role. They went out and kind of did what Texas did last year, where they signed a handful of D-tackles. They took one from North Carolina, one from Colorado, one from Illinois. So a lot of veterans and a couple guys I think that they believe will play in the NFL. But there was a lot of turnover. Marco Jones is the guy I'm keeping a close eye on, and then Anto Saka out of Northwestern, who's kind of built in that pass rusher mold. But with that said, I think it's a nice defensive line, but man, they to replace Cassius Howell and the almost, I think, 11 sacks from last season, that was a gift that kept on giving for most of the season. I know he had a quiet finish there against Texas and Miami, but, man, he had a hell of a year, and I think that really changed things for that A&M defense from 24 to 25 was their ability to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, so are you giving this one to Texas?
For one reason.
What's that?
I looked at Texas's D-line, and I think the 2 units and depth, in like the caliber of depth, I think it's very comparable. I do. I think you go up and down it, it's very comparable. I know they're saying some good things about, they call him Zoo, Ozemelu there, who was a guy that almost went in the portal.
Yeah, they fought to keep him.
Yeah, but I think all things being equal, I think if you look at those 2 D-lines, it's really similar. But there's one thing that stands out. If you gave me Cassius Howell back, I would say they're very similar. Call it even. You guys have the guy that did pass in the bowl game. He passed Cassius for the SEC sack title.
Colin
and
Simmons.
He's not going to the NFL only because he can't, because he has to be 3 years.
Thank God
so he's
for
coming
that.
back. So I think those two D lines are a push until you add in a guy who's probably a preseason first team All-American. I would
I think
second.
Texas has enough returning on the DL where I'm not concerned. You lost a little depth, but you got others up and coming. I mean, I think just with the return of Colin Simmons, you can give this one to Texas.
Yeah,
pretty
Simmons,
easy.
Yeah, again, like add Cassius back in, we could actually debate this one, but he's again, even if all things are equal, you add him in. He's one of those 5 stars that has lived up to the hype from day one, much like a Myles Garrett a few years ago when he came to A&M, where day one you went, okay, he's that dude. So, anywho, linebacker, give me your thoughts.
Who does A&M return on?
A&M lost Torian York, who we'll see how this draft thing goes for him.
Was he invited to the combine?
Yeah, he was, and he's going to get drafted, but he could have come back.
Burke was not invited to the combine, which is a disgrace.
That was surprising to me, and obviously he played really well against A&M, but I thought he was a player.
He's a great football player. So.
Combine's like 200-something dudes, too. Like, yeah, it'll be fine. He'll have a pro day to show out. Everybody's going to come to that pro day to see some of those Longhorn high draft picks. So they'll be coming, and he'll have his chance in front of a lot of people. So, but yeah, that was kind of a snub. At linebacker, though, York could have come back. He did not. I think that's a blow. They went out and got Ray Coney out of Tulsa, who's, I don't subscribe, Amanda, to PFF rankings as the be-all, end-all, but he's certainly rated really highly. He has about a jillion tackles and has turned heads since being here in terms of, like, in the weight room and his performance, like, agility-wise and what he does. So I think they added him in the portal, and then Damian Sanford, again, I think is going to be a breakout player, and I think Noah McHale has to be like that guy. Another veteran they have is Lockhart. So the development of McHale and Lockhart, I think, is a must because they added one via the portal that almost you hope is just the plug and play for York. And Sanford was kind of an emerging guy. And then, you've got these two. So I like it. To be honest, that's another position I wouldn't have fought against them adding one more portal, but that's where we're at with that.
I think I would have liked Texas to get a little bit more depth as far as linebacker goes. You're losing Anthony Hill Jr., which is a big loss, but you did add Rasheem Biles, so that's a big addition there. You're returning Ty Anthony Smith. That'll be a really good add there. But otherwise, I think that this is one position where I wish there was just a little bit more depth for Texas. I still think returning those, you also have Brad Spence coming back, which really, really strong showing last year. So I think Texas will be okay linebacker-wise. I wish there was a little bit more depth. Which linebacker room would you rather have? I know you really like Ty Anthony Smith. So
yeah, I do, and I really like Sanford, and I think they almost.
Rasheem Biles is also a pretty big add there. And according to practice notes, he's been living up to the hype. So.
I forgot about Spence. So, to me, so much of that, I would go. To me, so much of that depends on the Biles and Coney, which one of them really ends up being the guy, right? The two portal additions. And I know Biles comes with a little more fanfare, right? Via the rankings and whatnot. And I loved his highlight tape. I loved Coney's as well. I don't know. That's a tough one. For me.
I'd take Texas's. It's not my favorite room, but just all things considered, looking at both of them.
Yeah. I think that one's really, really a potential push maybe, but I mean, I think if we polled, you might get that one at linebacker. I like the Aggie linebackers, but I just think, and not enough people know about my wild card to me is I think Noah McHale could end up being an absolute stud. He played a little last year and he made some big plays against good teams quietly, but there was depth there and there was veteran depth. But this is one of those positions where, like we're talking about one particular guy where he's got to step up and star. And I mentioned Morrow in the running back argument, Marco Jones in the D-end argument. Like, you don't have Howell, Marco Jones. You were, you got your feet wet last year and looked really good. Now's your time to step up and make a difference. So McHale's that same way at linebacker. So, a little bit more unknown there probably for the Aggies. Moving to the secondary, and we can wrap it up.
All right.
I'll tell you one position I love for A&M, and I like it more than what Texas has got. I love cornerback for the Aggies because I think Des Ricks is at the very top of my list when I talk about potential first, second team all SEC picks. I think he made that big of a jump from last year from 2 years ago to last season. And former 5-star recruit has all the tools to be a high-round draft pick. So I think you got Dez on one side, and they went out in the portal, and I know Texas got one from Rutgers, but they went out in the portal, and they got a guy that at Tennessee before he got hurt last year, and it was a pec injury, not a leg injury, so he should be all the way back and then some. But they got a guy where the other corner is going to be a top 10 pick, Jermod McCoy. And then the guy that Ricky Gibson, who's an Aggie now, beat out, the guy he beat out and started over last year before getting hurt in game 1 or 2, he himself is going to be a first-round draft pick this year. So I think they got an absolute stud in Gibson. I know Longhorns probably haven't watched his tape, but if you go watch it, he is a nasty physical tackler. He's great in coverage. I think that duo, that's a position that I would stand on the table and say I would fight for A&M on.
Yeah, I give you that. That's one room where I think A&M has better returners. You're losing Malik Muhammad. You're losing Jalen Gilbo. Quarterback room, a little bit of an unknown there. Like you said, you picked up Bo Masco. Good pickup. Don't know what he can do quite yet. A couple unknowns in the cornerback room, but Kobe Black, Cade Phillips.
Good. I love Caden Phillips is one of my favorite young guys on y'all's roster.
Yeah. And then Warren Robertson. So there's some potential. There's talent. There's just a little bit more unknown with the Texas cornerback room. Could end up being a great the talent's there. You just have to see it all put together.
And at safety, finally.
I'll take Texas. He got Jelani McDonald coming back. I mean.
Yeah, No, Jelani's probably he's probably a first team all SEC, maybe second, probably first, and high round pick. He probably had a tough decision this year whether he was going to come back or not. I like the Aggie safety position. I like Dalton Brooks a lot. He'll get drafted. Could get drafted highly. He's got strides to make still before getting there. Ratcliffe, I believe, will get drafted. He's going to be a third-year starter out of the portal. Bryce Anderson went in the portal, came back, and then you added Byard out of Colorado, who was a stud tackler. But I've got concerns there where they've got to do a better job with tackling and angles. And, I think until I see that, that's a position of it's absolutely not a weakness. I think it's going to be a strength, but I just need to see more on the tackling front because there were way too many plays this year. Again, like I said, it's not all on the safeties, but there were way too many plays that could have been 8, 10, 12-yard plays that turned into 35, 40 or more. And so that is one of my big question marks where can A&M erase that by having some of these guys become erasers at safety? So, McDonald and who's the other safety projected starter for the Horns over there?
Xavier Filsami.
Yeah, high recruit a couple years ago, has played a lot. And you didn't even mention
Grayson Littleton.
Yeah, who had I thought was a great.
Grayson Littleton is another. I was about to say, I forgot to mention Grayson Littleton. He's another. I mean, I think he started against Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he didn't start. He came in and he made
plays. Yeah.
They were targeting him and he showed up. So he had a really good freshman season, true freshman.
Yeah.
So he's one. And I think we can touch on special teams real quick. I think Texas wins with Ryan Niblett as the punt returner and kick returner coming back. So
yeah, you won that one. Bussey's good, by the way. Bussey's really good.
I'm sure he is. But I mean, Niblett
he's right there with Concepcion last year.
Niblett is the reason Texas did not have a much worse season last year.
That part is very, very true. I mean, you look at Kentucky, Mississippi State, and even OU. I think that was 3 games in a row. But certainly,
Kentucky OU wasn't a game winner or anything. But man,
it was a game icer.
Sucked the life out of the Crimson side.
Did they start leaving after that?
Oh, just flowing out.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's rip through these so we can do questions. Josh Pate had a tweet. We'll just do this real quick. Josh Pate had a tweet. He had a tweet where he said rising programs, and 2 of the ones he picked were.
He said program rankings.
And the I don't know what. Hold on, Kate. Hold on.
I love how he puts out these tweets, but doesn't really say what went into this ranking, like his power rankings, program rankings. He doesn't really.
Nothing goes.
He's basing it off.
Well, his power rankings, he's got his own formula for.
Yeah.
These rankings, I think it's just him putting everything that he believes about the programs together. Why don't you read them out real quick? Because my phone just died out. So we'll do these other ones. We'll rip through them. We'll talk about the early Heisman odds next week. So why don't you just read through Pate's program rankings, because the Aggies and Longhorns were in it, so it's interesting. Just rip through them real quick, and then we'll talk.
So we're starting at 1. We got Ohio State, Georgia, Indiana, Oregon, Texas at 5, then Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami, A&M at 9, Michigan, Tech, and then Tennessee. Tech fans frothing at the mouth over this list, okay. I am sure.
All right.
I think it's a fair assessment as far as Texas goes, personally, just based on if this ranking was last year, obviously Texas would look a little bit different. But when you're finishing and missing the college football playoff, I think it's fair.
Yeah.
And evaluating what Texas added in the offseason and how they were trending at the tail of the season, I think it's a fair ranking for Texas. I mean, you can comment on A&M. I think it's relatively fair for A&M. I might put them a little bit higher personally, but
of everyone you said, so I think he's probably factoring in like where they stand in the NIL arms race, where their rosters sit.
I drop Tech right out of there. I just until you can prove you can win against a real opponent.
Well, they're getting bolstered so much by what people think. I guess
if you're factoring in NIL and just what you have to offer to recruits. Sure.
Yeah.
Tech at 11 is just fine.
And I like that he had him at 11. He's not, because they do lack in some of those other areas. And I think Joey McGuire is still someone, it's fair to question him versus some of these other coaches. And you saw what happened.
I completely question Joey McGuire. Yeah. When BYU's your best win all season, and then you go in and get obliterated in the first round of the college football playoff. I'm sorry. I got a lot of question marks for you.
So, hearing all those ones you said without diving all the way in, I would say I would move A&M up at least a spot.
I'd move them over Miami for sure.
See, I would debate Miami. Miami seems to have a nice little formula going out and getting a portal quarterback and plugging them in with all their talent. And they just had that breakthrough year, so you have to think that like the NIL floodgates have opened with their fans and the excitement, and they've got a ton of talent.
Notre Dame?
Bama. Okay.
Yep.
Bama and Notre Dame is an interesting one because they're recruiting at such a high level, and they got their little
I
primrose
think Bama's
path.
just kind of there
I
at
would
this
move
point.
A&M ahead of Bama. I would. I think for staying power over the next, I don't know if he's talking about couple 3 years. I like where A&M's at and trending.
Bama without Saban just doesn't have the sparkle.
No, and you just have to wonder, and Bama should be good this year, but if they're not better than good, if they're not great, you have to wonder if they're not sometime in this short-term window are going to go through a coaching change. So I think that has to factor in too. Sark ain't going anywhere. A&M and Elko essentially agreed to a long-term marriage this year. So those type things.
If Elko was going to get swiped, it was going to be this year, I think.
Exactly. And if it was going to get swiped, it was going to be this year by Penn State.
All the jobs open,
and it didn't happen. So, yeah, I agree with those rankings. I would move A&M up a spot, and then we could have a longer debate about A&M versus Notre Dame. So, exciting times, though, for both. And I do think it's fun to see for every one of our listeners should be, and if you're not, I think you're wrong, should be excited about the trajectories. Let's do some questions, Amanda, before we wrap it up.
All right. I'll start. Do you have the question? Oh, wait, you have paper. I forgot. You don't have your phone. I'll start with one for you. Okay. I think we briefly talked about this. What's your confidence level elevating Holman Wiggins to OC with no real prior play calling experience, a turnover-prone quarterback, and a rebuilt offensive line? That's a loaded question. We're going to have to put you on a timer for this one because I know you could go on for 30 minutes.
I've already gone on about this, but that is so loaded on every level. But
what do you want, a minute? I'll give you a minute.
Yeah, give me a minute. Here's the deal. I believe in Holman Wiggins because of what these players that have come through and what Mike Elko have said, and because I think Mike Elko could have gone out and hired someone significant, like in terms of like a splash and a big name. I promise you he had the money to do it. No one at A&M put him on a budget, and he talked to a couple guys that do have big names, and he said, you know what? This is what I think is the move. This is what's going to work for us, and that's based on what he knew about Holman Wiggins. So I'm confident, but it's like a cautious optimism because there is the simple fact that he has not called a game yet, much less an SEC game. But call it cautious optimism on my end there. I get it. Those are all, whoever asked this question, like nothing he wrote about there is wrong. So
yeah, he landed at like 55 seconds. So good job on answering
that. It is a
one.
concern going into the season, but again,
cautious optimism is a good way to put it. I mean, I had cautious optimism when Sark was hired. So
right, true.
Look, there we go. All right, you want to pick one for me?
Okay.
The A&M boards only got 500 from TexAgs to pick from.
What is the fan base's opinion on Sark? Again, that's leading. And is there a legitimate concern that he has NFL ambitions?
Well, I'm going to lead here. I'm going to time myself so I don't go get crazy on these. I'm going to lead with the fact that I think a good portion of our fan base is delusional and emotional. That's a fact for most college football fan bases. True. I think it's a little bit exacerbated in fan bases like Texas and fan bases like A&M. You lose one football game, it's fire the head coach. So some fans obviously think Sark, they should have reconsidered Sark because he won't give up the offensive play calling duties, all that. I think most fans with common sense like Sark, like the direction everything's going. And I mean, I know as much as the next guy about NFL concerns. I don't know. I would like to say no, he doesn't have NFL ambitions, but looking at the current scope of the college football landscape, I can't blame a guy if he wants to go to the NFL because being a college football head coach has to be hell right now. Yeah. So I hope he doesn't have NFL ambitions, but I can't blame him if he does. So that's my.
I agree with you on that. Who doesn't at this point? Ask any college head coach, and they're probably like, dude, if this doesn't get fixed, I'm out of here. So I do think that's everyone. Here's one. All right. Okay, go ahead. Give me another one.
I want this one just to make sure we get to it.
Okay.
On baseball, if the Aggies don't at least make a regional this year, would you approve the firing of Early?
Well, I'm not going to word that of like approving his firing because I'm rooting like hell.
You're
for
not on
him.
the board.
Yeah, I'm rooting like hell for him, and I don't have the power to fire him or keep him, so I don't want to approve
Would
of
you
anything.
put him on the hot seat? Let's just put it
let's
that way.
just factually say it. Yes, he's going to absolutely be on the hot seat, and if they don't make a regional, I think they'd have a hard time bringing him back. Absolutely. I think this team. The real question is not that if you go 2 years without making it to the postseason. I think the real question is what is the season finish that does bring him back, because I think people are going to be surprised this year in Mike Early and A&M baseball. I really do. I love the damn lineup he's put together via the guys coming back from injury, the portal. I think they have 3 first-round bats in that lineup, and they also go really deep. I think this is a team that's going to make a jump back. So the bigger question, Amanda, is what is that cutoff? It's not – if you don't go to the postseason with this team, then, yeah, it's going to be, I think we'd be covering a change.
Okay, little heavy, 111, but not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
You can pick one.
Let's do this one.
Scroll to the more recent ones, too, because
New questions on the Texas
last
board.
week, but there's some newer questions down there, too.
Okay, where would Texas be today if they lost to Mississippi State and Kentucky in overtime? I think that's a quick one. I mean, I think we know the answer to that.
Probably in hell. I don't know.
I mean, that would have been
probably would have been a nightmare. I mean, I would hope Texas would have rebounded, but I don't even want to think about where Texas would be. Not a happy place. I don't think Sark would have gotten fired, but it wouldn't have been a great
he might have been hot seat this year with those two.
He would have been hot seat. Yeah. I don't think his seat is hot right now, but he definitely would have been hot seated. So that's where Texas would be.
Odd that Bowles.
Similarly to where A&M would be if they lost to South Carolina. Probably not too happy.
Well, to match that would be if they'd have lost to South Carolina and Arkansas, because that would have been 8-4 with 2 bad. But guess what? It's always going to be that way. No matter how good you are going to look at 2-3 games in the year and go, thank God we won.
There's going to be one of those games where, I mean, Georgia had the same situation last season with Kentucky. Like, thank God we got out of Dodge. Like, it happens to SEC teams. It just happened to Texas a little bit more often this year because of that new offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
All right, this one's not a new one. Who has more rushing yards next year, March or Arcel?
How about that? I like that. Marcel I feel like it's shocking we haven't done that yet as much as we've talked about.
March or Arcel. There you go.
That's a damn good question.
I know, because they're both running quarterbacks, running quarterbacks.
I think you're just guessing because
I think my opinion might surprise you. I think Marcel, just because the running back room is a little bit less saturated with experienced talent. So I'm saying Marcel.
And I'm going to go Marcel because I think Holman Wiggins and that change from Colin Klein to Holman Wiggins, there's going to be certain things that look different. And I think one of them might be some more designed quarterback running to take advantage of Marcel's legs and to also maybe take some of the pressure off of him. And like you just said, add to that running game by having the extra guy in there as a threat. So I think for that reason, we're going to agree on that one. All right, let me ask you this. I think we did this one last week, top 3 players you'd steal, because you said Dalton Brooks and I said Simmons.
Go to the newer questions that we have.
Okay, this is a fun one. We'll do a couple more. We'll do 2 more and we'll wrap it up. Other than the A&M and Texas fan bases, which is the next fan base you have the most trouble with? And we could both answer these individually.
I think this is easy.
Yeah, yours is OU.
I don't even think it's the next fan base. I think it's the first fan base we have trouble with, and that's OU.
Okay.
I think I will put OU as more obnoxious than A&M every single day. The only difference is OU had some notoriety. Their notoriety is getting further and further away. Yeah, they made the playoffs last year, but they had a pretty sus first game in the playoffs. They lose their first game in the playoffs at home. Mm-hmm. First team to ever do that. You're welcome. They played before you. But I think OU fans, Texas will always have. I don't know. I feel like some fans go back and forth. Some fans don't like A&M more. Some fans don't like OU more. I really hate OU, and I think it's probably because I went to college and Texas wasn't playing A&M, we were playing OU. So that was our rival.
That one's obvious for you. I think for me,
I do think Texas is blessed to have two really, really big. I can't think of many other teams who have two as big of rivalries as Texas does.
For me, it's a no-brainer. It's 1,000% LSU. And I have so many good friends that are LSU people, and like, we don't even fight about this stuff, but just the mentions and social media, and then just kind of
their new nickname for you, the Goobs.
That's so dumb. Like, there's so many things they do, and just like,
I mean, Texas doesn't even call Aggies.
They put Lane Kiffin on that float, and they act like it was the greatest thing ever.
They're going to be extra level of obnoxious with Lane Kiffin.
Well, and so is Lane. So you better get ready too, because he's coming at the Aggies and Longhorns this year, because we both play them in Baton Rouge. I think Longhorn fans are going to start to agree with me on this one too.
I think I asked you, and you said you would cheer for Texas in that game.
I might. It depends. Remember, I said it depends on where things are at in the season.
And I feel like it's a difference of, like, you kind of respect your rivalry with Texas a little more. Yeah. There's a history behind it. It's kind of, you have the bonfire connection there. There's always been a mutual respect between it.
LSU's
a little different.
And they just think they are at the tip top of the sport. And I know they've had a better run than A&M because of the title in 19 trumps everything. And we're not even talking about historically. I know they've won 3, but I
did love me some Joe Burrow, I gotta say.
Yeah, and since and he's one of those players you just have to say badass. Like, can't deny it. But I go say it all the time. A&M joined the SEC in 2012. LSU was the greatest season ever in 19. But the other 13 seasons in between there, they haven't finished one of them with less than 3 losses. But they walk around like they're Nick Saban, and they talk every offseason like they're Nick Saban, Alabama. And that part drives me nuts. So anyway, LSU fans, and again, I get along with a lot of them, but I also, they're just kind of unbearable at times. So speaking of unbearable, what do we have moving goalposts this week? Did you want to do
one more question? I thought you said you wanted to do one more.
Let's do one more. Pick one. Do you have one?
Oh, the one that I said, this is such an Aggie question.
Which one was it?
What factors was UT, I corrected that, most envious of with regard to A&M in the SEC that led them to follow A&M's lead to the SEC instead of going to the Big Ten for more money? I put the ha behind it because I couldn't phrase a better Aggie bitter question.
That's a leading question, if ever there was one. Follow A&M's lead.
Question.
Man.
Texas playing in the Big Ten, let's just think about geographically. Doesn't make sense.
I think
geographically doesn't make sense. The package of Texas to OU, A&M fans can be as up in arms as they want to about it. You get back your best rivalry in history with Texas coming back to the SEC.
Yeah.
I feel like Aggies and Texas fans should both be happy about that. You added 2 quality programs to the SEC. Probably kick a couple out for Texas and OU to replace, but you added 2 quality programs. As much as you hate those programs, you can't deny that you added 2 quality programs to the SEC. I mean, I'm not a Big 12 sympathetic person. I never liked the Big 12. I didn't like playing Iowa State, Iowa State, and West Virginia every year. Texas Tech was fine, but it's Texas Tech. I mean, you still, as long as we had that OU game, happy. But at the same time, obviously you want to go play opponents like you have in the SEC a little bit more. So it's better opponents. And like you can sit here and say like, oh, well, Texas thought the Big 12 was. Find me a fan that thinks the Big 12 is good.
Wait a second. That's the same voice you use for me.
That's not you though.
I know. I'm saying you're like just making it like.
That's just my imitation voice. It's not personal.
I know what it is. The only reason I take it personal because it sounds like an old man's voice, and that's a sensitivity for me.
I think that's Never mind.
With that, don't do it. Just don't do it. You've made it through almost a whole show. So, look, here's my take on the whole thing. I've said it a million times. I don't need to beat it into the ground. My thing is this. I did not want Texas in the SEC because I thought it gave A&M a tremendous advantage in terms of their own visibility and recruiting. It was a recruiting advantage, especially as the Big 12 started to wane. Did A&M fully capitalize on that advantage? No, not in terms of winning while they were in there and winning a championship or burying.
I mean, y'all got some talented classes. Just a couple of them did not develop.
And A&M
what was
has
that one class that completely every single player transferred?
22 class was a disaster. It's a historic disaster. I wanted to almost do like a Texags like 30 for 30 on it. But
I can help you with that. I did sports documentaries in college.
Well, we do them here. Why don't you come and you can work with Texas?
They had a class for that at Texas. It was the best class ever. We watched 30 for 30s, and then we built our own at the end of the semester. So
A&M needs more of that. A&M.
It was a great class.
The journalism school that went away a long time ago, I think, has severely hindered A&M. And speaking of LSU, they've got like 8 million people in sports media, and it doesn't help the competition.
My mentor in the industry is an LSU grad.
Yeah,
so
there you go. So but my thing is this, like once Texas came in, then I'm excited about it. Once they were,
you can't act like you're not happy you have that biggest game of the season. I'm not talking about you. I know you're happy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about other fans. You cannot act like you're not happy that you have that biggest game of the season back. I know you haven't won it quite yet. You will win it eventually. I hate to admit it, but I mean, this game's going to go back and forth at one point. It's a rivalry game. Shut up. It's a rivalry game. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
But don't act like you're not happy that you have like your one historical rival back to play. That was, and I mean, I'll say it. I was pissed when the game went away.
Yeah.
I was sad when the game went away. I think most people should be, and there's a bunch of politics involved with it. I'm sure that I'm not even going to try to speak on. People talk about the Longhorn Network all day, whatever. But I mean,
the Longhorn Network produced my girl Kaylee Hartung. Shout out Kaylee.
I almost interned for the Longhorn Network.
And you would have been friends with Kaylee today because she was amazing.
I accepted another internship at that point, and hindsight's 2020. I should have bailed on the internship I accepted and gone to the Longhorn Network.
And shout out Kaylee, because a week ago she did do the sidelines of the Super Bowl, so it was awesome.
They did produce some really good stuff,
moment.
Really good content. And they were able to highlight a bunch of outside, like other sports that normally didn't get TV time.
That was the best part to me. If I would have been,
I personally think it should have been the Big 12 network. That's me, but is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, here's the deal: the Big 10, Texas wrapping this up. I think Texas would have fit in. Just like I thought A&M would have been a perfect fit for the SEC, I think Texas would have been a great fit for the Big Ten before the Big Ten became the big across America. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, sure. And I think they would have been a cultural fit, and I think it would have been great for the Big Ten and probably Texas and the brand, but not lately, not with playing from Rutgers to Oregon to Los Angeles.
Everyone's saying it's not like Texas wasn't an academic fit for the SEC. I mean, had A&M, Texas, Vanderbilt.
Vandy. They're getting better with the additions of A&M and Texas for sure.
Yeah, you have some good quality schools in there.
All right, moving goalposts. I was on a podcast this week. We had some fun, and I know you saw the clip. What do you have to say about me? I went on there and just said, you know what? I'm
honestly kind of insulted that you didn't think I had the ability to do the statistical research and football stuff, because you should know that if I am like retweeting something from the past, I've done the research surrounding that. Nobody can reverse quote tweet me on it because I have the things to prove that this was a valid thing to bring back up. And also back to the point, when you're a woman in sports, you have to double and triple check your statistics, because the second you get something wrong, you have all these trolls in the comments
they're
saying,
waiting.
don't let women on football fields, get back to the kitchen, make a sandwich, that bullshit. So yeah, I'm going to do research. I'm going to do look at my statistics and make sure I know my shit, because otherwise it can get pretty ugly for you online.
Well, but it's been ugly on this side, and my thing is, I haven't done that. What Aggies have been telling me is I'm not doing enough research, and I said,
you can't just get on certain shows and flap your jaws. You gotta research some things beforehand.
Did you like the way? But here's the deal: where I give you the credit is Did you hear I said you're like in the movies? You know, like the virus has evolved. How'd you like me comparing you to a virus? It started out with rude, quote tweets and bookmarks, and then now you've like embraced this.
Maybe we should bring back retweet or delete. I'll go dig in the archives.
Go do some digging this week for fun. It's the off season,
so maybe it's time to
But you've definitely
rebirth some of those.
You've definitely evolved with this. Like you've gotten into and have embraced like the football. This is the side of you that I didn't see coming.
Well, you hardly knew me when I actually did sports for a living.
That's fair. That's fair. But I did give you, don't ever say. You would have
heard a lot about the Harlingen Hawks.
Is that who they are, the Hawks?
I think it's the Hawks.
You've embraced the research. I'll give you that. You do your homework every week, even if it's a day of show, but you certainly do. And so, so I want a little credit for giving you credit. Maybe SEC
Thank you.
Mike.
I appreciate it. Shout out to SEC Mike. Maybe one day he'll let me on his show. I don't know. Maybe he's scared of me. Can't blame him either way. But
and it wasn't just Aggies and Longhorns that see that. It's the whole SEC. So I think it's a long off season. He's going to have a lot of guests, and I think it would be funny to see, not funny, but it would be good to see y'all on there with you talking about the Horns, but him doing what I do, which is try to give you shit and catch you in moving goalposts. In the act of moving goalposts.
Yeah. Well, that's why we named this show Moving Goalposts.
Right, good luck with that. All right, Atwell, that was a good one. We'll do it again next week. So I'm Billy.
Good. And I'm Amanda.
And we're moving goalposts next week. Give us some more topics.
Next time.
Message us. Give us some more topics. Drink La Casa. Drink Catalyst. There you go.
All right. Have a good night.